Hello everybody. In this video, I would like to show how to download stock price data and then from there get to the return, monthly return or annual return for individual stock securities. And here we go. So we go to finance.yahoo.com, very straightforward, yahoo.com, just say enter. And from here, you just start typing in the search dialog box here, you just start typing the company name that you would like to download the stock data for. So for instance, let's go ahead and download data for, um, let's say Valero. I'm not sure if it's a publicly traded company. Let's check. So just click on it. It seems it's a yeah, it's a publicly traded company. So once the page downloads for, in this example, Valero Energy, so we go to historical data. And in this example, I would like to download monthly data for the last 3 years. And so I can select the dates. So say, for instance, starting from, why not? Let's just do it from January 1st. Actually, let's do it the last 4 years. So January 1st, 2016, all the way to January 1st, 2020. So I don't want to really have the 2000, or you know what, let's just do it all the way. So 9/5 or something like that. Yeah, today is 9/7. So let's do 9/7. Let's see how much stock price data is available. So download. Okay, there you go. So this is roughly 4.5 years worth of data. Instead of daily, I will get monthly data. I will click apply. And now I have monthly data that I can go ahead and download. So I click on download. As soon as the data downloads, I can open it. Here you go. So it downloaded monthly data, and you guys can clearly see here the data is monthly. So typically we will work with adjusted closing prices. So let me just go ahead and write the name of the company on top, and the other columns I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. So delete, and delete this one too. Volume is also good. So adjusted closing prices are the prices net of dividend payments. So you don't have to worry about dividend payments. It's all integrated into these prices. So, and if you want, we can just go ahead and add the $sign just to clarify that these are prices. All right, let's go ahead and download yet another data. For example, let's go ahead and download the data for I don't know, let's make it Apple. Why not? Apple company, pretty much the same dates. So we will download historical price data. And I believe we went through 1/1/2016 all the way to 9/7/2020, I think it was. And instead of daily, we will go ahead and download monthly data. So there you go. Let's make sure this is monthly. It seems monthly. With this exception, we will remove it at the end. Yes, this is monthly data, so we can download it. This time I will be careful. So the way I will do it is I will copy paste the data here onto the other data set. So it's opening next. There you go. So all I will do is I will just specify that this is Apple company, Apple stocks. And so all I need is the adjusted closing prices. You can see that there's this very last date that we need to remove that very last row later on. Okay, so Control V, there you go. Let me check if it works. Yes, actually, yeah, I can remove both of these. Yeah, I don't need them. And let's go ahead and download one more company stock data. Say, for instance, let's go ahead and search a new company. So we downloaded so far a technology company, an energy company. Let's do a food company. How about Burger King? Burger King. Okay, Burger King. Wow, it's a private company? Seriously? I thought it was BKG. Hold on. BKG. No, apparently not. I thought it was BKG. So how about Harley Davidson? Hog. Wow. Harley Davidson is, I thought, oh yeah, there you go. Harley Davidson. They do motorcycles, right? So historical price data. Okay, so it's probably a private company. I'm not sure because I don't see any historical price data here. Or somehow oh, there you go. Okay, so historical data here. Perfect. So again, we need to update the dates. Starting date from 1/1/2016 all the way to 9/7/2020. That's good. And we want it monthly data. Apply it first and then download the data set. Once the data set is downloaded, all I'm interested in is the column which says adjusted closing, basically. All right, here you go. So all I need is this column. So I will say Harley Davidson. So, or maybe I can say HD Harley Davidson. So I can Control C. That very last row will be deleted. Ultimately, Control V. Let's check. Yes, I don't need that row. Perfect. So everything looks good. Oh, except that I need to make sure these two columns are in dollar amounts as well. There you go. Now in the next step, so these are prices. I can actually go ahead and add another row on top. So these are monthly prices, but what I need is monthly returns, monthly rates of returns for those three companies. Control C, enter, and I will also, oops, go ahead and copy, oops, again, mistake. There you go, Control C, oops, shoot. Okay, Control C, I should say. There you go, and just paste it here. Perfect. Now I have the dates. How do we calculate monthly returns? That would be very straightforward. There will be, so for instance, as we move from January 1st to February 1st, a whole month passed and Valero stock went from 55 down to 49. So the stock price went down. So we need to calculate the amount by which it went down, which is this number, final price minus initial price, previous period, and divided by the previous period's price. And that's the rate. Alternatively, and let me just go ahead and put percent signs here as well. So this is a percentage change in the stock price. Alternatively, we could have done the following. We could have said equal to, I think this is the one that's easier. So new price divided by old price minus 1. So that would be the net change. And all I need is now double click. Boom. And we can do the same thing now. We can just go ahead and first carry this over to the next two. So for instance, if I go inside this one, you guys can see that it works. So this is the holding period returns, and we can just double click now. There you go. So now that I have monthly returns for Valero, Apple, and HD, I can go ahead and construct the numbers that I need, which is Control C. So the numbers that I need is annual returns, right? So these are rates of return, and the annual standard deviations, as well as the correlation matrix, correlation coefficients, correlations. All right, so the correlations between Valero and Apple. Then we need Valero and HD, and finally Apple, and so the correlation between those two companies. So those rates are all needed. Okay, so first let's calculate the oops, it's not working, huh? Okay, there you go. So first we need to calculate these 6 numbers, the returns for each and every individual return. Let me highlight it, maybe another color like this, gray. And the same way we need the correlation coefficients that will help us obtain the variance covariance matrix ultimately. All right, so how do we calculate annual returns? Very easy. So let me just go ahead and calculate average monthly return on top here. Actually, you know what? Let me just go ahead and highlight it first. I can use yellow color. There you go. All right, so here I will enter the average monthly return. All right, so the average monthly return will equal to average of all these numbers on the first column. That will give you the average return for Valero, monthly return basically, and then I can extend it. So now average annual return for Valero will be just that number, monthly return times 12. And I can pretty much drag that over to the other two cells. Now I can go ahead and finally put the percent sign. And there you go. So this is the annual return of these stocks. Well, sorry for that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, because we did the average monthly return. So during that 4.5 year period, in average, unbelievable, Apple stock each year earned about roughly 40%. We can check. Apple stock here is $22.58. 5 years later, it's $120, six-fold, which makes sense. All right, next we need the standard deviations. That's also pretty straightforward. Let me just go ahead and actually move this by one down, so it will be easier for us to. Oh, there we go. Okay, go up. Yeah, so here I can put the average. Sorry, monthly standard deviation, monthly standard deviation, after which we can find the annualized amount. Oops, there we go. All right, so the monthly standard deviation will be standard. There's already a formula for that, so we just can select that. And all I do is now just select the whole column, close parenthesis and press enter, and there you go. So this is monthly. Wow, extremely high. Extremely high for Valero. That's interesting, actually. I wasn't expecting. Wow, so it's pretty high for the others as well, but not as high as Valero because monthly returns are not that much, but we can see that monthly standard deviation is extremely high. All right. Having done that, now we can convert these into annual. So the way we convert is to multiply these numbers times the square root of 12, not times 12, but the square root of 12. There you go. And now we can go ahead and again write a percent. So we organize. Perfect. Let me just also go ahead and color these. Oh, sorry for that. I'm going to use this. There you go. So those are the kind of the averages of all those numbers underneath. So I'm trying to be as organized as possible. That's it. So in case you are wondering where these numbers come from, so now you know how to download the data from Yahoo website and then how to analyze it, make the initial analysis. Next, we need the correlation coefficients. So there is already a formula here. All you say is correlation, double click, and then all you need is, for instance, in this case, because we want the correlation coefficient between Valero and Apple, so I will first select the first column entries, comma, and then I will select the second column entries. Oops, not all of them, just the dates. There you go. And then close parenthesis and press enter. That's it. So 0.38. Well, it's not that bad. So usually correlations are always a number between -1 and 1, right? So -1, less than rho. Usually correlations are represented with the letter rho. So let's check also the correlation coefficient between Valero and HD. So first select Valero, comma, then select HD. Starting from the bottom, I will go up. There you go. Close parenthesis, press enter. Wow, this one is higher. And finally, Apple and HD. Let's see if there's any correlation between the two. So it equal to correlation. Apple stock prices, stock returns, comma, the returns for HD, close parenthesis, press enter. All right, so wow. So all of them are obviously between -1 and 1, but the numbers are relatively close to each other. They are not perfectly correlated, but still a high correlation. Next is the covariance matrix. This one is rather straightforward. Actually, we already have a pretty decent idea on how to do that, right? So I will just go ahead and highlight this as usual. I think the color we use is this one. So what I will do is we will have Valero, Apple, and HD. We do the same thing here, Valero, Apple, and HD, Harley Davidson. So usually the correlation, so the covariance matrix is such that the diagonals are just the squares of the standard deviation, square. The square of this standard deviation for Apple, square. And finally the square of the standard deviation for HD. There you go. So this is the diagonal entries. Off diagonal entries, the good news is they are just replicating. So it is a symmetric matrix. And so all we, oops, this one. There you go. Let me make sure this one is correct. No, this one is not correct. This one should have been this. it should be exactly opposite with respect to the main diagonal. There you go. So all I need is just to fill out these remaining 6 squares. So we learned how to do it earlier. So this is equal to between Valero and Apple. So the column is Valero column, the row is Apple column, Apple row, I should say. So it is just the Valero and Apple standard deviation. So Valero times Apple times the correlation between Valero and Apple, which is this number. Press enter. And we keep doing the same thing for Valero and HD next. Valero standard deviation times HD standard deviation times the correlation coefficient between Valero and HD. And finally, Apple standard deviation, the HD standard deviation, and Apple and HD correlation coefficient. There you go. So this is our covariance matrix. And with this summary informations, we can just totally ignore all the data set. We no longer need the data set. That's it. That's how that's all we need to construct the actual portfolio, like we do in upcoming videos on this playlist. What we do is we first provide an example with 2 securities, then with 3 and 4 and more multiple securities, how to construct portfolios that will maximize return or minimize risk, and then ultimately to produce the efficient frontier. Hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to see you guys in our next lecture.